Hi guys, good morning. I've got a very sleepy, needy dog with me today. Look, he won't take his paw off of the bead mat. Wants attention. So, happy Thursday. How's everybody doing? This one's sleepy today, in need of cuddles. I'll have to get rid of him in a minute when we start beading. So hopefully you've had a really good few days. I was at the Create and Craft Studios yesterday with a really busy Totally Bead show. Thank you so much for all of your orders. It was crazy busy and it was just a little last minute add-in as well. So that was really lovely. Today I'm going to show you how to use your size 11 seed beads. Oh, Granny's saying good morning, Curly. Granny's watching you. I'm going to use size 11 seed beads to create a beaded bail. So these are perfect if you have pendants or you have donut beads. So this is the pendant that I'm going to use today. That's nice, isn't it? This is the pendant I'm going to use today, and I'm going to show you how to create a beaded bail for the top. So you can see the seed beads are going to create a bail up at the top. It's hollow, so you can thread your tiger tail wire, strands, any of your cords, even just a chain. So if you've got a favourite chain that you like to wear, we're going to make this so you can thread it straight through the middle. And you can also use your hematite donuts. So if you've got any beads that don't have holes, pendants that have drums through the middle, this is what we're going to do. So we're only going to use size 11 seed beads. I'm going to use two different colours so that I can show you how all the steps, so all of the rows that I'm adding, I'm going to do it in two different colours, so hopefully it'll be really clear for the video. And then we've got quite a few things coming up for the rest of the week. I'll take you through that in a minute. This is your free PDF download for today. So it's your beaded bail. Really nice, clear instructions as per usual from Kitty. You get your full materials list. You also get your pictures. And your written instructions as well. So very, very clear to follow, which is great. And you'll just need a needle and thread. So for anyone who is starting and you don't have all of those tools yet and all the arsenal to create lots of different techniques, then this is a really nice simple one because it's basically just sewing with seed beads. I'm going to have to get rid of you now. You're going to have to get in your bed. So click on the link in the description of the video because that will take you straight to the free project section on the website. In there, Kitty and Simon have added not only the free PDF, so for those of you who have been following every day for the last 5, nearly 6 weeks, you just go onto the website, you add your free project into your basket, and then that will get emailed through to you. So really nice and simple. Lots of people asking about Mum's bunting. It's all up on the outside of the house now and all the way along all the row of the houses on the fencing. I'll share some pictures with you once we're finished. So yes, you also have in that category today with your free project a load of pendants. There's beautiful agate pendants, there's some crystal pendants as well, lots of different things in there and some great bargains to be had. And then all you need to do is add in your size 11 seed beads. So I'm using Toho seed beads this morning. I have a beautiful galvanised rose gold and also a pearlescent finish in a sort of reddy pinky colour, which is beautiful. Right, sweetheart, we've got to bead now. I'm going to have to get rid of you. Go and get into your bed. Oh no, I'm sorry. Say goodbye, everybody. Okay, into your bed, darling. Into bed. Okay. Don't know what's wrong with him this morning. Wants cuddles. Don't we all? Okay, so beaded bail, free project for today. And now let's get going. Right, I'm going to turn you down. Lots of people saying good morning. I'm sorry, I haven't even said good morning to you all yet. Let's have a little look. Good morning, Paula. Hi, Natasha. Hi, Natalie, Judith, Margaret. Oh, lots of Margarets. Including my mum. Hi, morning, Kitty. Hi, Julie, Jan, Bernie, Dorothy, Anne. Good morning. Yesterday's demo was great. Just the ones I needed. I'm making the necklaces and gem trees. Oh, fantastic. Is that everything that I had on yesterday morning? Hi, morning, Angela, Karen, Debbie, another Angela. Lovely. Okay, so let's get going. I've got everything set up. I've already got my needle threaded. I'm using a size 10 beading needle. This is what we're going to be doing. So creating a bail. As you can see, Totally Beads actually have some of this popcorn beaded chain. It's fantastic. So I haven't actually made this. This is pre-made. So it means that for things like your bails, you can just thread this straight through. So the bigger the bail, the bigger the gap you're going to have in the middle. So this one, I just had to make big enough to house my hematite donut and then also my popcorn chain. I think it's called seed beaded chain, actually, something like that. You'll find it on the website, and you'll see that that sits beautifully. So it kind of creates this V shape. Okay, so it's actually almost a square. Oh, it's called design cord. Thank you, Kitty. It creates almost this kind of square, and you can create as many little colour flourishes as you wanted to. You could do every row in a different colour. You could add little squares and patterns like this. There's lots of different takes that you can have on it. Your pattern, your instruction sheet is going to show you the technique. Okay, so as you can see, you can create them in different sizes to get that sort of effect. I've seen owls made with some peyote beading like this as well. They're really cool. And then, of course, you can use it on your crystals as well. So as small as you want. And then, as you can see, it's hollow, so you can just thread your chain straight through. So it's a really versatile stitch that hopefully will allow you to make the most of some of the materials that you have at home as well. So these beautiful pendants that you want to display, but you don't know how to add them onto your jewellery. So this crystal has obviously the hole up at the top. This is what we can attach our beadwork onto. So we'll just go through the middle with thread. So we'll bead on the outside. With your larger ones like your drums, if I move this around, you'll just put a beaded strap underneath. Okay, like so. So this is the crystal that I've got. These are the seed beads that I'm going to use. And then what we're going to start off with is just 4 of our seed beads. So what I'm going to do is actually alternate between my colours so that every time I add a new row, I might do a new row or I might just do the corners. We'll see how clear it is in the video, so that you will be able to see exactly what I'm doing row by row and step by step. So it'll hopefully make it a little bit easier. I'm just going to move these into shot for you. Okay, so what's everyone been up to? I haven't seen you for a few days. Have you been following Kitty's demonstrations? She had a beautiful rainbow charm bracelet on yesterday. It was gorgeous. Hopefully you've all enjoyed that. I know the rainbow stuff is just immensely popular at the moment. Okay, so let's start off. I'm going to pick up 4 of my seed beads and then I'm going to bring them down my thread. So I've left about a generous arm span, just as per usual. My spool is attached to the other side, so I'll get that one out the way. And then we're going to go back through all 4 of them again. So just like you've seen me do in previous videos, I suspend it, create like a little tightrope. You can then actually push the beads up to your fingers, which will give you a little stopper, which means you can run through all 4 again, holding those beads so that they stay in the middle of my thread, otherwise they're going to travel up. And then once I've come through, I'm actually just going to tie a knot to bring these two. Actually, let's go through one more. What you'll find, you can either knot these together, but sometimes this little thread of loop doesn't always come through. So what I'm going to do is actually go through the first one again. So that's a 3rd time. Just take care not to pierce your threads, because that will stop you getting that perfect shape. So as you can see, I've now got my 4 beads, okay, and they're in a perfect little shape. Now what I'm going to do is start to create little edges. So every time I get to these corners, I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads, okay, and I'll do this in a different colour so that you can see it. So I'm going to pick up, I'm exiting from this bottom bead of my square. I'm going to pick up 2 beads and go through the next bead. And again, holding my beadwork in my hand. And what you will see is that these beads, and they do often need a little bit of encouragement just to sit correctly. So it's a bit like, if any of you are familiar with doing a herringbone, then you can see that they sort of sit in that kind of straight line with each other. And then we'll do the same thing again. So I went through my gold bead, so I'm going to pick up another 2 beads and then go through the next gold bead. Okay, so I'm just working my way all around those foundation beads that we've added on. And again, a little bit of encouragement just to get these beads sitting in the right place. For your first row, like this one, it's sometimes a little bit trickier to get them into place. As we add our next few rows, it will become really simple and they will hold their position perfectly. Again, another 2 beads and along we go. And again, just encourage them to sit in the right position. And then on to our final one. So I'm keeping that thread out of the way, rotating my beadwork around each time so that I have that open hole. Keep this thread out of the way so you don't pierce it when you're going through your next ones. And again, picking up 2 beads. And now what I need to do is step up so that I can move to the outer rim of my beadwork to start adding on my next beads. So I'm picking up my 2 beads. Not only am I going to go through the gold beads, just like we have been doing, but I'm also going to go through the first bead of my second row. Okay, so that is the, in this case, the pink bead, because we're doing alternate colours, that's going to sit on top of it. Okay, and we'll pull that through. Now that's called stepping up. So when you're doing a circular peyote or any kind of tubular peyote, things like that, stepping up is always going to take you to the next row. So as you can see, I'm now exiting from the pink bead up at the top. So that is my second row of beadwork, ready to add on row 3. And what I've done is embellished each of the beads that I had on my foundation round. Okay. So now I'm on a corner. So these pink beads will be our corner beads, okay? So every time you get to a corner, you're going to add 2 beads. What you will then start to do as the piece grows is on the edges rather than the corners. So I'm just going to grab a coffee. Hold on one sec. Blimmin' croaky again today. I think it's this hay fever. Every time you're on a corner, you're going to add 2. And as it grows, in between our corner beads, so that will be in here, we'll add a single bead. So this time I'll do it in the gold so that you can see the difference between each round. Picking up 2 of my gold beads, and because these are my 2 pink ones from the previous, this is a corner. So then I'm going to come down through the second bead because I'm adding 2, so I'm going to go through 2. Over 2 if you like, and again just making sure they sit. So now I've got 3 rows there, my gold, my pink and my gold. What we'll do in between here, because we have a gap now, which is just in the middle, I'm going to pick up another bead, and this will start to form our lovely square. So pick up a bead and go through the next, and you will see this will just pop into place in the middle. Now again, I'm at a corner because I've got my 2 pink beads. So I'm going to pick up 2 more beads and pass down through that corner. And pull that in. And already now you can see that they're starting to behave and they are starting to sit in the right direction because we've already got those foundation stitches in the way. So I'm not in a corner now, I am in between them, so I'm only going to pick up 1 bead. And you'll see you wouldn't be able to fit 2 in there anyway because the gap is so small. So I will pick up 1 bead and go through the next. Now, again, I'm at a corner, so 2 beads and going through. And hopefully the difference of the colour of the beads that I'm using is going to make that really nice and clear for you. And you'll also see that you'll start to get a really cool little pattern. And again, we're now on that little bridge in between the corners. So just 1 bead and up through the gold, up through the pink. Just make sure those threads don't get caught in the way. And this tail is going to start to be a little pain, so we'll just pull him down, keeping that tension, rotating it round. So you'll notice I'm always rotating my work around so that I've always got it just poised on the edge of my finger so I can always see it really clearly, holding all holding all that beadwork flat, and they're all just popping into place. And again, I'm at that bridge. Now, once I add this last bead in, I'm going to be at my returning first corner again. So do you remember how we stepped up? I'm going to pick up 1 bead, and now I will go through not only the pink beads that I'm working on in this round that we're connecting them to, but I will also go up through that gold because that is now going to step me up, ready for round 4 and ready to add on my next round. Like so. Now I can see Kitty's answering a lot of your questions. Thank you, Kitty. When we get quite a few of you on here, it's tricky for me to keep on doing my pattern and answering. So if there's any questions, just give us a little nudge and we'll try and answer what we can. Okay, so we're going to repeat this, but now in our bridges in between our corner beads, you'll see we've got 2 gaps to fill. If I move my finger out of the way. So it's a gap above the pink and in between the gold. So this time we'll add 2 beads, okay? So we're on our corner. Corners mean 2 beads. Picking up 2 beads and going through. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my neighbours cutting the grass. It's a bit noisy. Using pink beads, aren't we? Okay, so it's a bridge. So again, picking up 1 bead. And this round I'm using the gold bead. So I'm going to go through the gold bead. And that will pop into place. I now have another bridge because our beadwork is growing. So I have another individual. So what you will find is that each row you add, you are now going to have 1 more bead to add on to those bridges. So you can see we only had 1 gold before, now we've got 2 pinks. When we go to our next round, we will have 3 to add, and it will just continue to grow in this way until you achieve the size that you want. So I'm going to keep on going with a good few more rounds so that you can see. We're at a corner again. So corners mean 2 beads. Picking those up and popping them into place. Now we're bridging, so bridging is single. Bridging that gap. So you're just filling the gap in between the beads that you added on the previous round, which means I need to do that twice. Corners, what do corners mean? 2 beads. Adding on your 2, popping them into place. Bridging again. So a single bead, my second single bead. So you'll see it's really not difficult to achieve. You get a lovely look. You can create some really funky patterns and it actually grows very quickly. So this is a really nice way to add a handmade finish to some of your jewellery. So if you just bought a really pretty chain and you bought a lovely crystal pendant or a hematite pendant, whatever it might be, got agate pendants on the website today. Again, now I'm at my last one, so I'm stepping up. And you know you're stepping up because you've already got your beads from this round. So I'm going through the gold, which will attach on my bridging bead now. And I'm going through the pink, which is the top bead, stepping me up. Buy a pendant, buy a chain, and this is going to allow you to have that very handmade and beautiful finish to it, but with ease. Very, very simply. Now, what you will find, look at this. When we fold this over, so when we're working on it, it's square, okay? And it will now start to pucker and cluster together because now when we fold it over, ta-da, we have our bail. Now, obviously, this kind of size would be great for earrings, and it's probably only taken me about 5-10 minutes to make, not even. And you just keep on going in exactly the same way until you achieve the size that you need. So let's add a few more rounds just to make sure that you've all got the hang of it. Corners, what does corners mean? 2 beads, picking up 2 beads, crossing over through that second bead and down. Now we're on our next row, so we have these 3 gaps to fill. So this time I'm working on gold, which means my previous round was pink. And you can see that because look, you get like this little sort of, what can I call it? You get like this little jaggedy edge. So you can see the gaps that you need to fill in between the pink, in between the pink, in between the pink. So this time we've got 3. So it just grows and grows round by round. Bridging them, so it's a single bead. Popping it in. And you'll notice every time I add a bead, I squeeze it in between my index finger and my thumb. And that's just to make sure that they're flat, that they're popped into place, that I get that really nice neat edge, and you're just perfecting that tension as you go. Again, you'll notice I do use a lot of my fingers and I probably don't even realise that I'm doing it, but every time the tail that I am working on, so this is my working thread, I just keep in between my fingers to keep out of the way, because if I move my hand out of the way, can you see that the thread is already trying to fill that gap for me? So if I now come through, the likelihood of me piercing that is really high. So just hold that down and bring it out the way. So we're just bridging that last one up to our corner. So we've got our corner beads and now 3 in the middle. Corners, so double, 2 beads and down. And when you're learning, using different coloured beads for each round is really handy because it just allows you to see very clearly the beads that you're working on, the beads that you're adding in, those gaps that you need to fill. So keep it nice and easy for yourself to begin with. And then as you get better and then you begin to see the pattern, once you've made one of them, to be honest, by the time you've got to this stage in it, you're going to be a pro anyway. You're going to know exactly what you're doing. So then you can start adding more intricate patterns and start adding, you know, a couple of different coloured rows. You could even do these as rainbows. I know we're a bit all rainbow obsessed at the moment. That would be really cool. You can add lovely little clusters and shapes and all different kinds of patterns in. So bridging these gaps, because you see sometimes they sit a little bit close together. So just by having that colour difference, it makes it so clear for you just seeing it to begin with what you're adding in. And you can see even doing the alternate colours. Now don't worry about these threads. You see these threads here? That's because I haven't tied off this tail and we didn't tie a knot. But when I pull that tail tightly, it's going to cluster it all into our shape and cluster. So corners, so doubling up, just encourage them to sit. So by pulling it and again squeezing in between your index finger and your thumb, you're going to keep those in place and bridging through. Keeping that out of the way and going through. And again, now we're ready to step up because we've already got our gold beads up on top here. So you can see you've got 2 lots. Picking up your bead, picking up your bead through the pink, through the gold, and you're ready for your next round. So again, if I pull that nice and tightly, you can see our bail is really starting to take shape. Now you can make any size of bail. I probably wouldn't even go much bigger for this, actually, because you don't want it to overpower, but you do want to make sure, depending on where the hole is in your crystal. So I do have a little gap in between. You might just be able to see the bead mat through there. You just want to make sure, you just want to make sure that there is going to be a big enough gap through here to fit your threadable component. So be it a chain, a strand of beads, whatever it might be. So actually I'm going to add on 1 more row and then we should have the right size. Goodness me, croaky today. Do you know what I think it is? Once I've been in the studios, so I was there yesterday, I think the aircon really messes me up because if I'm busy with shows, I do find, well, that and I probably just talk too much. I do find I get really croaky. But you won't have to listen to my croaky voice tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Kitty back again. And Kitty is using ginkgo shaped beads tomorrow. They are such a beautiful shape. So if you know like the shape of a ginkgo leaf, that's where they've got their name from. They are really beautiful and she's going to create some stunning shapes with them. A lot of people are put off using shaped beads because they're shaped and it's harder to sometimes see how you would use them in projects. But join Kitty tomorrow at 10 o'clock and she is going to show you what to do with those. And then on Saturday, now I'm not going to lie, I am looking forward to having 2 days of lions. Because whenever I haven't done these videos, it's because I've had TV shows over the last 2 weeks. So tomorrow and Saturday, I'm going to be watching Kitty from the comfort of my bed. Which will be lovely. Thanks, Kitty. Sunday, I'll be up bright and early again for you. Sunday, we are creating pearl and crystal pendants, which is really nice. So we've got some great projects coming up. And then I don't think we're settled for... We haven't worked out next week yet, so I'll be having a FaceTime with Kitty at some point tomorrow to show, to go through and show projects that we're going to be doing, and her and I will make a little plan. Okay, so as you can see, once you know what you're doing, it's going to take shape. Ooh, nearly added 2 onto my bridging. Whoopsies. Once you know what you're doing, it's a pattern that you don't have to be completely engrossed in. I'm still chatting away to you, just adding on the beads. It's really comfortable because you're effectively just sewing. So don't be put off by weaving if you are new to jewellery making, because it really doesn't have to be hard. Don't get me wrong, there are some beautiful, intricate and very advanced patterns out there, but it doesn't mean you have to stop yourself doing things like this and creating those beautiful handmade elements. Let's get that in there. Double up on the corners, remember? Like so. And in we go. So I'm just on the last bridge of this one, and then I'm going to attach it onto my pendant. I'll also show you how to tie off those threads. Now, if you have size 15 seed beads, you could actually go around this outer edge and just fill in the gaps. Okay, so I'm going to step up. This is my last one. So going through the previous round and the round you are currently working on. Okay, like so. Now I'm going to cut this off of my spool because I know I have enough thread now. If you have size 15 seed beads, which are going to be a little bit smaller, you could go in and fill these gaps in between, but it will probably make it a little bit tighter as well. So do it nice and loosely with your tension. I love looking at these from the top. Look, you see how you've got this beautiful V-dip up at the top of the bail, and then from the side you have the lovely pattern. So you can do things like, this one probably is about the same size. You can do one colour all through the middle, so they are my first 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds. Then I've done 2 rounds of an accent colour and finished it off returning to the main colour. Okay, so you get that lovely frame around the outside. This is using alternate colours, so just like we have done today, so it gives you that kind of speckled finish. And then this one, I've done exactly the same thing. Main colour for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. Accent colour for 2 to give you that V. Another 2 rounds in the main colour, only 1 round to give that little spotted edge, and then returned to the main colour for the finish. And then, of course, in this one, we're just alternate each way. Now, I'm coming out at the top here. So actually what I'm going to do, I want this top to become the middle of my bail, not the tip. So what I'm going to do is just open it up and fold it the other way. Okay, so now you'll see I'm at the bottom. And this is so that I can come through the crystal itself. Now, because I've got quite a nice small hole in here, none of my seed beads are going to fit through, but I would like this to finish on a point, not a blunt edge. So where I have 2 beads at the moment, I'm going to add 1 bead. Okay, so I'm still on my corner, but I'm going to finish this off by adding 1 bead because I want it to come to a point and look like it is finished when I add it onto my crystal pendant. So I'm going to add 1 bead, and now I'm just going to follow my thread path. So I'm going to cross over these 2 beads here and come, I'm going to try and do it so I can show you. So I'm going to cross over and come back through the bead here, and when I pull this around tightly, let me get my tail out of the way for you so you can see it. When I pull this tightly, this thread is actually going to disappear because I am following my thread path. So can you see, here it is here. When I pull it, it just disappears in between those beads, okay? So it becomes invisible, and then I'm going to come back through this individual bead. Now this will give me a nice tip, and I'm going to come through my crystal, adding it on. And when I pull that through, that's going to make sure it sits, that's going to make sure it sits really nice and neatly. And because I've added that single bead, it's given me a point. So it just looks a little bit more finished. And then we'll repeat that. Don't want to get it twisted. Let me move these out of the way because the pendant's really heavy. So if I'm holding it up, I know I'm going to get a gap in my thread. So I'm just going to sit the pendant down. The side I have worked on is underneath, and we want to repeat that on this side. So I've come through the pendant all the way to the back side. I'm adding on 1 single seed bead. I'm going to go down the far left bead of the very base now of the back of my bail. Pulling that, I'll pull it tightly in a minute. I'm just going to get this thread through first. Crossing over to the second bead on that row, like so. And now I'm going to pull it tightly. And I want to cross through. So now, because my pendant is so heavy, I'm letting it rest on my finger. I'm going to cross through that seed bead that we have just added, and now I'm going to pull it all really nice and tightly so that I know I've got no gap in between my beads. Can you see that's now sitting beautifully on either side? And then I want to straighten it up. I've only got one thread running through here at the moment, so I'm going to pass back through the crystal, back to the front. And when I added the seed bead, I was exiting from the right-hand side of the bead. So my thread from this bead is coming out on this side. So that I centralize it, I'm going to come through it on the left. And that will mean when I pull this tightly now, the seed bead will sit, I've got a thread, so my seed bead is in the middle like this. I now have a bead running through this side and through this side. So it means in my pendant, it's going to sit beautifully straight, crossing through to the back as well, because remember, we only have one thread passing through this at the moment. So it's going to be a little bit skew-iffy, and we'll centralize him as well. So when I passed it through the first time, I've got my bead, and you can see it actually, it actually is passing almost into the hole. So I want to square that off. I'm going to come through in the opposite direction. So I've centralized it up and pull that tightly. And that will now give me a perfect finish. Now I've absolutely covered it in my hand cream. Let's clean that off so it looks beautiful. There we go. So this is how you're going to add your bails and your crystal pendants and any pendants that you didn't know how to attach on before. And as you can see, because I made it just that little bit bigger, I've got a fantastic gap there to add it onto anything. You could add it onto a kumihimo strap that you have braided. You could do macrame, you could do multiple chains, you could make your own beaded necklace. Just make sure if you're adding it onto tiger tail and such like, just take your beads to the furthest point. Okay, and then leave that gap in between, just have your tiger tail so that it's hanging. Now you can reinforce this several times. So how I've just been passing through there, because this is going to be the heaviest part of your necklace, okay? So you want to make sure that that is going to hold on, but then also this is the part that's going to be holding a lot of that weight as well. So just make sure that's really nice and secure and there are no gaps. So it's really, really simple. Finishing off your threads. So let's go back to our tail thread. I do hate threading a needle live, but hey ho, we've probably got a little bit of time. I'm going to take my tail thread, because very often we don't get to show you the actual finishing touches. We just go, yeah, thread your tail back on and finish it off. I'm going to show you, because at the moment, the way I've bended over my bail, my thread is actually on the inside and I want it to be on the outside. So I can see the bead that my thread is exiting from. It's this bead in the middle. So all I'm going to do is poke in between the beads, okay, so here, so that I can bring that tail to the outside, and now I can start working on it. So you can see I'm exiting. These are our very 4 beads that we began with right on that first round. Exiting here, and then I'm going to take it through. I'm just going to run through about 3 of these beads, okay, on this outside edge. So just a straight line. What you want to do is follow your thread path of the beadwork that you have already created. And I'm going to make a knot inside here. I don't want to take it to the edge because I don't want it to be too visible. So what I'll do now is tie a half hitch knot. So I'm going to take my needle underneath my threads. So I'm not going through any beads. What I'm doing is just coming underneath this thread path here in between that pink and gold, underneath it, pull it through so that you leave a little loop, bring your needle up and over and through that loop. And when I pull this tightly, and I'm making sure that my thread is in between those 2 beads that I took my needle under the thread path of, when I pull that tightly, I've now got a completely invisible knot in there, okay? And I'm going to move away a few beads. Let's cross over the top and let's come down the other side. And again, your thread will be invisible because this is all thread path that you've created in your beadwork. Pull through, and we'll do another knot just for strength and security. Underneath that thread path. So no beads, just the thread, like so. Pull it through, leave that loop, up and over, through the loop. Okay, and that will now be completely invisible. And then I'm going to go through a couple of beads just to move away from my knot. Like so. And then I'm happy that that is secure. It's woven through. I'm going to take my scissors, pulling up with my tail, pushing down with my scissors. Snip that off, and you will have a perfect finish. Thread your needle onto the other end and do exactly the same thing. Up a few beads, and because I don't want to ruin the thread path, I will probably just take that thread up these beads because you can see I've got a straight line. Okay, so straight up, tie a knot about here, straight up, probably tie a knot about here, secure, and you're done. Okay, so there you go. That's how to make your own bail for your crystals. Well, for anything. It could be a drum. I've seen necklaces made with washers. Great for male pieces of jewellery. You can make them out of absolutely anything. Any of these beads you've got holes in that you can't necessarily get eye pins through. You might not be able to afford to buy the bails. Seed beads I've used, oh gosh, probably not even a gram of seed beads, to be honest with you. So it's very cost effective as well. I'm sorry, I haven't managed to catch up with any of your comments because it's a bit more of an intricate make. I've had to keep an eye on it, but I will have a look through in a minute and I will answer any of the questions that perhaps Kitty hasn't done. I'll just say hello to you all. I'm sorry I've missed quite a few of you. So Kitty is here tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. She will be making her beadwork and weaving with ginkgo beads. Saturday, oh, button men on Saturday. So Kitty and Christopher, it's the mother-son challenge. So you can get creating with your kids, which is really lovely. Button men, and there's a really amazing addition into them as well, so don't miss that. Saturday at 10 o'clock with Kitty and Christopher. And then on Sunday I will be back with pearl and crystal pendants. Sorry, I've got to keep checking my list. I'll have a FaceTime with Kitty tomorrow and we will plan out the next week as well. Stay safe everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I've had a great crowd of you this morning. I can see how many of you are on here. I will go and have a little chat with you all in a minute as well. I'll go and finish off my coffee. My voice a little rest. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you on Sunday. Join Kitty for the next 2 days and I will see you Sunday. Have a lovely weekend everybody. See you later. Bye.